You're watching Life Report, pro-life talk, real-world answers. Life Report trains people to more effectively defend their pro-life beliefs while honestly examining the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. We're the show other pro-lifers may have warned you about. This is Life Report.
Welcome to Life Report. I'm Josh Brown. We are with, as we jokingly refer to, pro-life celebrity here. Jason Jones is in town. Jason Jones, he's the founder, the producer of Bella, and has produced a lot of great pro-life films, and now you're going around speaking. I had heard about you from my boss who saw you speak at the Fresno Business Association, and it was like, you've got to hear the speaker. He's the best pro-life speaker I've ever heard. And he came in, and he's going to do a couple of episodes with us. So, Jason, thanks for coming on the show.
It's great to be here.
Why don't we start just by just give the couple of minute bio on who you are, what you're doing. I'm sure everyone's seen Bella, but besides Bella, who is Jason Jones? What are you doing?
Well, that's a big question.
It is.
Since I was 17, I've been in the pro-life movement, and I'm not your typical pro-lifer. I guess in many ways I am the modern typical pro-lifer. I didn't get involved through my church or anything like that, but through my experience with an abortion as a young man, right out of high school. I got my girlfriend pregnant, and in the middle of my senior year, we were going to get married, so I dropped out of high school and joined the Army. And while I was at basic training, her father had forced her to get an abortion against her will and mine, and she called me at Fort Benning where I was, and she was crying and said, her father said I got rid of your baby. I didn't even know abortion was legal.
Wow.
I did not even know. I was crying. I was begging my captain to call the police. And he looked at me shocked, like, call the police? Don't you know abortion's legal? And
right.
I didn't. I did not know.
What year is this?
This was 1989.
Okay.
And, I was one of those, I was last in my class out of 565 kids, which means I didn't pay attention. And so when Planned Parenthood came to my public school, I was probably doodling football plays on my folder.
Right.
I was that kid and wasn't paying any attention.
Yeah.
And it was really unthinkable to me. And I promised, I said, Katie, I will end abortion for you. And I believed it. I said, okay, I'm going to end abortion. And I thought, America must not know that they're killing babies. I didn't even know there was a pro-life movement. I didn't know the term pro-life or right to life. I just thought, if I tell people that they kill babies, they'll go, oh, this has to stop.
Right.
And
You'd think.
Yeah, it wasn't so simple. No. So that's how it began for me, and just one thing led to another. And after I got out of basic training, I went to Hawaii where I was stationed, started going door to door. While going door to door, someone from the local Right to Life affiliate found out about me and called me, actually kind of upset, saying, we hear you're going around telling people that you are representing Hawaii Right to Life. I'm like, what's Hawaii Right to Life? We fight abortion. I'm like, we have a group? I did not know we had a group. I didn't know Right to Life had anything to do with abortion. I didn't know what that was. So there was no Google. I couldn't Google Pro-Life Club or anti-abortion
This was right
club.
Before Al Gore invented the internet.
Yeah, Al Gore was still busy in his basement inventing global warming and the internet.
Right.
And he did invent global warming, though. We should give him credit for that.
I know. You got to give him credit for at least one thing.
He invented that. One thing led to another, and then I got a radio show. I was tired of knocking on doors. I said, there's got to be a better way. Got a radio show.
This is way better than knocking on doors.
This is cool. No, it's better than TV, to tell you the truth.
Yeah?
Oh, this is the best. Yeah, our movies. And this is the best. And got a radio show and, started doing cable news programs and just wanted to keep just trying to do a little more. And now it's film and through my nonprofit organization. And I'm still involved politically. But I think that movies, art, Solon, the lawgiver of Athens, said, I'd rather choose the music of a city than its laws, because people disobey laws when no one's paying attention, but they never disobey art. And I guess I'd rather be a dictator. Rather dictate, don't kill your babies. But that's the power of art. With Bella, we know of over 500 women who, after seeing Bella, chose life.
Wow.
220 through our DVD program. And
wow.
And the rest through theatrical and DVD release. But that's the power of art. Beauty does save.
Okay, we're going to talk more about art in the next episode next week. Jason, here's what we do. When we bring on pro-life, quote-unquote, celebrities, we always laugh at them because we always act as if there's no pro-life celebrities. You would disagree, but Here's what we do. Before we come on and we'll do the normal, we're going to talk about your movies and everything
Sure.
that you do. We have a 9-question questionnaire that
Okay.
we've put together. We ask every pro-life celebrity that comes on here. Walter Hoy's done it,
awesome.
David B. Wright, Brian Kemper, all
No
those
math.
guys have done it. And so we're going to kind of get to know you for this episode, and then
Okay.
next week we're going to learn more about the movies.
There's no math in this test.
There's
is
no
there?
math.
Okay, we're good.
This is going to be okay. What did you get in trouble for as a child, Jason?
Oh, wow. I like to climb things, and I hated wearing shoes. So I was always barefoot climbing the gutters to the local plaza.
I've got a friend that's
something
just
like that. Yeah, I
you.
was
He's
that
going to be
kid.
the next Jason Jones. I'm gonna tell
Uh-oh. He
David
likes to
that.
climb things barefoot?
Everywhere. He's
That
like
was
the
me.
next parkour, guy. Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, I got in trouble for everything. My grades, fighting, but climbing and not wearing shoes. I still don't wear shoes usually.
All right. This is a really ironic question for you. What's your favorite movie and why?
Wow, that's a good question. There's so many, I mean, maybe 5 that I love. Life
Name 'em.
is Beautiful, Bella, Cyrano, The Right. I just saw The Right, which I think is one of the most pro-life films ever. Casablanca. If you say which film I've watched the most, Casablanca. I love. Life is Beautiful. So many wonderful, beautiful films. But I would say Bella, for me, has such a special place because when I first saw Alejandro's Rough Cut, I looked at him and I thought, this is going to be the greatest director of my generation. And I said, this movie's going to save so many lives. So to be there in this private screening room and seeing what would happen, Bella has to be my all-time favorite movie, but my name is in the credits, so that probably doesn't count.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I
Because
know
everyone
you're gonna
loves
say
their
Bella.
own thing they make, but Life is Beautiful.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, Casablanca.
Last 38 years, what has been the pro-life movement's greatest victory or victories?
What has been the greatest victory or victories? Well, I think learning from past mistakes, and when I look at the young people today, your generation, that's the victory. That I look at the pro-life movement as when abortion happened, Roe versus Wade, it was like a mugging on the street. And there were people just standing around. Father Marks, Judy Brown, they were just there, and they weren't experts. They weren't activists.
Sure.
They saw mugging, and most people just stood around looking, and they dropped down and they began to help.
Right.
And sometimes it was clumsy. They were learning as they went, and they built these institutions and organizations. And then my generation showed up, and we were kind of like in the ambulance. We learned from some of the past mistakes. From the moment I went to college, it was to learn skills to use to promote human dignity. And that was something that the generation before me didn't have that privilege, because they were, I think Judy Brown worked at Kmart with her husband,
Right.
and people just had jobs.
Yeah.
And then we put the body in the ambulance, and we did the best we could, which was just enough to keep the person alive.
Right.
And then we get the patient to the hospital, and that's where these skilled surgeons who have all the skills and talents that they need to save the patient, that's your generation. And so what's the pro-life movement's greatest success? I think that it's this new generation of pro-lifers that are so clever, they're so hardworking, they're fearless. I used to say I never trust anyone in the pro-life movement who's not post-abortive. And the reason I said that is because being involved in politics, I'd always see people just compromise or a little water it down. Post-abortive people, I'm not going to water it down. And you
Right.
can't shut me up
Right.
and intimidate me. But with your generation, you're all fearless and zealous and courageous. And there's always this dispute between incrementalist or purist. And I always said, I'm a purist who realizes I'll get there incrementally. And I see a lot of that in your generation, that you're not compromising on the end goal, but you are developing, like this program, like Lila Rose with live action, 40 Days for Life, which founded by David B. Wright, he was about my age, but Sean Carney and so many of the leaders of the 40 Days for Life movement are of your generation. So the greatest success of the pro-life movement is really getting us to a position where your generation is going to see finally the legal protection of the human person from biological beginning through natural death will be in your lifetime, I promise.
Okay, now you mentioned learning from past mistakes. So the next question is, what has been the pro-life movement's greatest weaknesses or failures so far?
Not realizing that although abortion is it's the culture of death is a great ideology of evil, like Nazism or communism, that can destroy our civilization. But I think sometimes we're not mindful of the fact that we're fighting an industry. And we want to think of ourselves as more than a special interest, but in a way, we have to fight it like an industry. It's an industry that needs money, and it needs our taxpayer dollars to succeed.
Right.
And, when the abortion industry stops receiving our money, they'll go away.
Right.
And when the abortion industry goes away, there's nothing to stand between us and correcting the laws that we need to correct to protect the human person. So I don't think we've been mindful. Sometimes we overly spiritualize it, and I'll hear people say, this is God's victory, not ours. Well, yes, but God has given us all the grace we need to survive, to win. God has given us everything we need. I remember 11 years ago, I was the chairman of the Young Republicans. I was director of Hawaii Right to Life, and I was chief of staff for a state rep, and I was an atheist. And I said a prayer. I said, God, I don't believe you exist, because if you existed, you would hate abortion more than me, and you would raise up movie stars. You would raise up rich people, powerful people, political leaders. I don't see that. That was just 12 years ago. And now I look at men like Eduardo Verástegui, who dedicated his career to promoting life, political leaders like Senator Sam Brownback, some of the most influential and successful business leaders in our country like Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's. A lot of things that we didn't have just 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I think, wow, I hear God whispering in my ear, now what, smart guy? God has given us everything we need to end abortion, and all we have to do is correspond our life to that grace, and the culture of that's going to disappear in an instant.
Part of the point of the questionnaire that we created is that we get to ask the same questions of a whole bunch of different types of people that have come from different walks of life, and we get to see sometimes the answers seem to be very similar a lot of the times, and there's been a lot of contrast with certain questions, and this next one would be one of those. Graphic pictures. Should we use them, and if so, how, when, and where?
Well, that's a big question. How, when, and where? I would not use graphic images myself, but they're very effective, and I'm glad there are people out there doing it. I think we have to be very prudent on how, when, and where. So I don't know if I can answer that question. But I think the one thing we have to be mindful of is that we have to be prudent. Not only where we use them and when and how, but the reason I couldn't use them is because they really do upset me as a post-abortive father. And I think that if day after day I held those pictures, it could really pervert me. It could make me very angry. It's very upsetting. But I do know many people, my father being one of them. We were at the March for Life. I was the director of American Life League's youth program. I asked my father to come, but my dad was not pro-life at the time. So he came and he saw the gap picture. And at that moment, my father became pro-life. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't use those images. Well, no, people need to see what abortion is. But it is true. I know that a lot of the post-abortive groups are against them, and because I'm post-abortive, and I understand they make me very, very, very upset. But I say that we live, especially when I speak to college students, we have to beat the rap. What's the rap? Relativism, apathy, and pride. The only way you can beat the rap is through conflict, right? It's through controversy. I call it controversial evangelism. We have to prick their conceit. We have to shake the apathetic awake. And relativism, they have to see really, there's no objective moral truth. And the pictures are a very good way. So college campuses are a great place, for one, to use those images. When I was in college, we'd made VHS. This tells you how old I am. We made VHS tapes of the bootleg copies. I don't know who I should send a check to, but we made bootleg copies of The Silent Scream. We put XXX on them, and we delivered them to all the dorms, to the community rooms, and at the same time on the same day. And of course, they all gathered around to watch this XXX video, and it said, "Warning, graphic, don't watch." We put it on there, right? So they're like, "Whoa!" And it really created so much debate on my campus. And now, of course, there are whole organizations that exist to do that in a much more sophisticated way than our sort of, childish way of doing it. But I'm definitely for the pictures, but I know that I myself couldn't use them, and I think we need to be prudent where we do them. And those of us who use them, sort of like Lord of the Rings, you have to know, maybe I shouldn't hold the ring so much, or maybe I'm not going to do this so much myself, because I've met people who I do think that the images have had a damaging impact on their personality, and they should be careful.